Prefabs in a line, prefabs in a square, prefabs in a grid, replacing prefabs, deleting prefabs, upside down prefabs, mirroring entire sections of prefabs. All of that is coming up in this second part of the Prefab World Builder. I'm Kevin, and I'll see you in Unity. So here we just have an empty scene. Let's start out by creating a ground plane. Reset the transform. Scale it up by 10. Now, before we dive into the rest of the tools here, I got a comment from Mr. Gibson. He says that in the next video, perhaps you can try to make the plane not flat to show us how to use this tool on a non-flat surface. And to demonstrate that, I would take the mountain here, create a mountain brush, and set the scale to maybe 5. Use the pin tool and place it somewhere in the middle. Let's say we want to scatter some trees onto this mountain. We'll make our tree multi-brush like we had before, and maybe we will apply some random rotation. Now, painting the trees should be pretty straightforward. But unfortunately, it seems like we're still painting on the ground plane below. So let's undo that. Now, in the brush tool properties, we can select Paint on Palette Prefabs, which will allow us to paint on the surface of the mountain. If we also lower the slope angle, we can ensure that nothing is painted on the mountain slopes that are too steep. Now, another kind of non-flat surface that you might want to paint on could be, for example, a planet. So let's make a sphere here. Reset the transform, scale it up to something like 25. Let's choose the movement tool and move it somewhere up here. Press F to frame the object. Choose the brush tool and start painting on the surface. Now, as you can see, we can only paint on the top. That's because of our slope angle, so put that up to 90 and you can paint on the sides. But as you can see, all the trees are vertical and that might not be what we want. So if we just undo that again, go to rotation and check rotate onto the surface. And now the trees will be painted onto the sphere, sticking out following the surface normal. You can see here that now some of the trees have been painted onto other trees. To avoid that, you can select the sphere, check paint on selected only. And now when you paint, trees will only appear on the surface of the sphere and not on the surface of other trees. Let's just clear out anything that we have made. Delete the sphere. Frame the ground plane. And let's look at the remaining tools. Now, before we get started with that, here's a little quick tip. Go into Edit and Shortcuts. And you can see that the numeric values here are not even used as shortcuts, except for number 2 that will toggle 2D mode. Now, if you want to be able to revert back to these shortcuts, we can just create a new profile and call it Prefab World Builder. Let's go ahead and remove these two. Go to the Prefab World Builder category. You can see the tools are already shortcutted as Alt, Shift, and 1, etc. That's a little too many buttons for my taste, so I will just drag them up here instead. Now you can toggle between the default setup and the Prefab World Builder setup. Let's stick with that for now and close this down. Now the next tool on the toolbar is number 4. It's the line tool, so I will hit 4 on my keyboard. With this we can of course make a line of trees. Hit enter to finalize. And we can make another one, hit enter again. Now if we wanted this to curve, we could just click once, twice, and before we hit enter, we can modify the curve of the line. Hit enter to finalize. But there's something even more interesting that you can do with the line, so let's create another brush. This will be our wall brush, so select the wall door and the wall window. Now these will of course appear with a random frequency. Let's say that most houses have probably more windows than doors. Now when we create a line, all the doors and the windows will be lined up. Let's say we want a corner here. We can move this vertex, but as you can see it's a smooth bend. To fix that you can press either the page down key or Ctrl-Shift-Y. You might need to tweak it a little to get the perfect corner. If at any point you need more vertices, you can see this faint vertex between the two others. If you click that, it will create another vertex. And you can keep on subdividing as much as you need. Let's press Escape to not finalize this. The next tool is the Polygon tool. Per default it's set to 5, but let's take it down to 4 and make a square. Click once to start building. Click again to choose the size. With this line here we can move it around and open up the shape. If for example we wanted to create a small opening in a fence or something similar. Escape twice to stop creating the shape. The next tool, number 6, is for tiling. Let's hold down Ctrl-Shift and use the mouse wheel to select the trees again. Click once to start tiling, drag it out and click again to stop. And there we have it, a nice little forest. Press Enter to finalize. Now let's say we want to cut down some of these trees. Let's make a tree stump brush here. We can now use the next tool, number 7. It's called the Replacer. Hold down Ctrl to scale up the cursor. We can now replace some of the trees with tree stumps. I don't quite know how to fix this yet, other than using the selection tool, selecting the objects in question and hit Embed on Surface. There's probably a better way to do this, so if you know how, please let me know in the comments below. Now we jumped over tool number 8. It is the eraser, and you can use it to erase some of the objects. If you make it a little bigger with Control and the mouse wheel, you can make a fine path down the forest. If you think it's deleting too many trees, you can select erase only the closest, and only the tree in the center of the cursor will be deleted. Now the next tool is the mirror tool. If we pick the selection tool here and we choose to only select prefabs from the palette, we can then select the entire forest. Click on the mirror button. Now a mirror plane will appear in your scene. You can move this around. And whatever objects you have selected will be mirrored across that axis. Rotate the axis to fit your needs. Press Enter to finalize. Now for the next tool I will be using this building block, so I will create yet another brush. Let's pin place this somewhere on the ground. Deselect the tool again and press F to frame the block. The extrusion tool will allow us to copy our selection in any of the directions of the grid with fixed intervals. You can even increase the spacing if you have the need for that. Press Enter and you can change the spacing once again. And that about sums it up for the tools in the Prefab World Builder. But on the last video I got a comment from Arch telling me that there actually is a built-in package in Unity called Polybrush. And Polybrush has some of the same features, but since it is included in Unity, it is of course free. So if you're on the fence about buying Prefab World Builder, you could check out Polybrush instead. You can download and install it in the package manager, and it is of course entirely free. The next video you should watch is right over here. And if you want to have a say in the kind of topics we do here on the channel, I suggest you go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section down below. See you around.